Oak Park, a suburb of Chicago. On a pleasant Saturday afternoon in the autumn sunshine, Lauren Martin was preparing dinner in her kitchen while listening to her daughter playing in the yard. She could hear the joyful laughter of 8-year-old Sophie chasing around with their beloved dog Bella through the window. Bella was a 5-year-old golden retriever who had been a cherished member of the family since Sophie was 3. "Mom, Bella won't bring the ball back again." Sophie came running into the kitchen, out of breath. Seeing her daughter's flushed cheeks, Lauren smiled warmly. "Bella's a smart girl, so she probably just wants to rest right now. Daddy will be home soon, and you can play together then." Lauren worked as a real estate agent locally. Married for 10 years, she believed they had built an ideal family life in this peaceful residential neighborhood. Her husband Brian was a manager in the sales department of a major insurance company. He was serious, responsible, and a loving husband and father. At least, that's what Lauren thought. Around 6 o'clock in the evening, they heard Brian's car pulling into the driveway. Sophie excitedly ran to the front door. "Daddy, welcome home." "I'm home, Princess," Brian said, putting on a smile despite his tired face as he lifted his daughter. Though tall and still maintaining a youthful appearance, Brian seemed to have lost some weight recently. Lauren assumed it was work stress and didn't pay much attention to it. "You're tired. You were late again today," Lauren kissed her husband's cheek. "I've been busy with a new project. I think I'll be able to come home earlier starting next month." Over dinner, they discussed their day as usual. Sophie cheerfully talked about what happened at school, and Lauren reported on a property deal she had closed today. Brian, as always, didn't go into detail about work, but she thought that was just his modest nature. During the meal, Bella lay quietly under the table as she always did. Sometimes when Sophie secretly dropped small pieces of meat, Bella would wag her tail happily. This scene was part of the Martin family's daily routine. "By the way, my sister and her husband are coming to visit next Sunday. Do you remember?" When Lauren mentioned this, Brian showed a slightly stern expression. "Oh, that's right. But I might have a business trip next week." "Again? You've been traveling a lot lately." "Can't help it. It's a competitive industry," Brian said, turning to Sophie as if to change the subject. "How about we go to the zoo next weekend?" Sophie clapped her hands in delight. Bella, sensing the family's cheerful mood, stood up wagging her tail. That night, after putting Sophie to bed, Lauren and Brian were relaxing in the living room watching TV. Bella was curled up sleeping in front of the fireplace. "You look tired lately. Are you okay?" Lauren looked at her husband's profile with concern. "I'm fine. I'm just busy with planning a new insurance product. But if it goes well, there's a possibility of promotion." "That's wonderful. But don't push yourself too hard." Brian took his wife's hand. "Thank you, Lauren. I can work hard because you're here for me." Those words reassured Lauren. It was true that Brian had been coming home later than before and taking work calls on weekends more often. Sometimes she noticed him constantly checking his phone and replying to messages. But she understood it was pressure from his pursuit of promotion. Bella was making small sleep sounds while twitching her legs. She was probably running around with Sophie in her dreams. This warm family scene was what mattered most to Lauren. Early Monday morning in October, Lauren was preparing Bella's breakfast in the kitchen while making coffee, as usual. It was Bella's favorite, dry food mixed with a little canned food. However, Bella, who would normally come running at just the sound of food preparation, was staying quietly in the back room this morning. "Bella, breakfast." Even when Lauren called, Bella came over with slow steps. Usually she would approach bouncing with her tail wagging, but today she seemed listless. "What's wrong, Bella?" Lauren worried and petted Bella's head. Bella sat in front of her food bowl and seemed about to start eating as usual, but after just a few bites, she lost interest and walked away. That's unusual, Lauren tilted her head. Bella had a hearty appetite and rarely left food uneaten. But she figured even dogs have off days and didn't think too seriously about it. That evening when Brian came home, Lauren consulted with him about Bella's condition. She hasn't had an appetite since this morning. Usually she finishes everything, but she didn't even eat half. Brian looked at Bella relaxing in the living room. I see. But she looks fine. It's probably just temporary. I wonder. If she's the same way tomorrow, maybe I should take her to the vet. You don't need to worry so much. People have bad days too, so dogs must be the same, Brian said while spreading out his newspaper. The next day, and the day after that, Bella's appetite didn't return. Moreover, during walks she didn't move around as actively as before and seemed to tire easily. When Sophie invited her to play ball, she would quickly get out of breath and rest. Mom, is Bella sick? Sophie asked Lauren with a worried expression. She'll be fine. But just to be safe, let's have the vet take a look at her. Thursday afternoon, Lauren took Bella to Oak Park Animal Clinic, where they always went. Dr. Harris was a kind veterinarian who had been caring for Bella since she was a puppy. She hasn't had an appetite lately and seems listless, Lauren explained the symptoms, and Dr. Harris carefully examined Bella. He took her temperature, palpated her abdomen, and checked the condition of her mouth and eyes. I don't see any major abnormalities. It's probably mild gastroenteritis. It's common for health to decline during seasonal changes. Dr. Harris prescribed digestive system medication. Give her this medicine for a week and see how she does. If there's no improvement, bring her back. Thank you. I'm relieved, Lauren felt better. When she got home, Brian was already there. It was unusually early for him to be home. What did the vet say? He said it's mild gastroenteritis. I got medicine, so we'll watch her for a week. That's good. I told you it was nothing to worry too much about, Brian showed a relieved expression. Starting that night, Lauren mixed the prescribed medicine into Bella's food. The medicine was small tablets that could easily be given when mixed with food. However, after 3 days, after a week, Bella's symptoms didn't improve. If anything, they seemed to be gradually getting worse. She barely ate anything, hardly moved all day, and had completely lost her former vitality. This is strange. The medicine doesn't seem to be working, Lauren became worried. Maybe you should take her to the vet again, Brian suggested. However, for some reason his voice didn't seem to carry as much concern as before. At the second examination, Dr. Harris showed a somewhat puzzled expression. Indeed, she hasn't improved as much as expected. Let's try switching to stronger medicine. The new medicine was larger than the previous one, and Bella refused to take it. Lauren struggled to get her to take it by wrapping it in cheese or mixing it with her favorite canned food. However, even after another week passed, Bella's condition didn't improve. Rather, her coat lost its luster and her eyes seemed to lack strength. Sometimes at night, she would make sounds as if she was struggling to breathe. It's not normal for this to drag on so long, Lauren's anxiety grew. Maybe the dog is just getting old. Bella is already 5, Brian said calmly. In human terms, she's entering middle age. But 5 isn't elderly yet. Well, maybe not, but there are individual differences. Lauren felt something was off about Brian's reaction. Before, he would have worried about Bella and suggested going to the veterinarian together for consultation, but now he seemed strangely cold. She reconsidered, thinking he might be stressed from being busy with work. One morning in November, when Lauren woke up, she heard unusual sounds coming from the living room. It was Bella's pained groaning. She frantically ran downstairs to find Bella lying in front of the fireplace, trembling violently. Bright red blood was dripping from her mouth. Bella! Lauren screamed as she rushed to her beloved dog. Bella's eyes were vacant, her breathing shallow and rapid. Her body temperature was obviously abnormally high, and her whole body was convulsing slightly. "Sophie! Wake up! Get in the car right now!" Lauren shouted toward the second floor. The 8-year-old daughter was startled awake by her mother's urgent voice and came running downstairs in her pajamas. The moment Sophie saw Bella's condition, her face went pale. "Mom, is Bella going to die?" "She'll be fine. If we get her to the hospital, she'll be saved," Lauren answered as if trying to convince herself, while wrapping Bella in a blanket. However, her beloved dog's condition was clearly critical. On the way to the hospital, Lauren called Brian with trembling hands. But the phone just kept ringing and no one answered. Maybe he was at work, or maybe there was some other reason. She didn't have time to think about such things now. When they arrived at Oak Park Animal Clinic, the reception staff understood it was an emergency and immediately called Dr. Harris. Bella was carried to the examination table, and Dr. Harris and his assistant began frantically treating her. "We'll start blood tests and 4 fluids immediately. Please wait outside, mother and daughter." Lauren and Sophie waited in the waiting room, holding hands, waiting for the results. Sophie was crying and continuously praying in a small voice, "Please let Bella get better." 30 minutes later, Dr. Harris returned with a serious expression. He was holding the blood test results. The moment she saw his face, Lauren felt an anxiety that gripped her chest. "Mrs. Martin, we have the test results," Dr. Harris said, looking at the papers and clearly disturbed. "This is not an ordinary illness." "What do you mean?" Lauren's voice was shaking. "We detected large amounts of poison in Bella's blood. This is not an amount that could be accidentally ingested. Someone must have intentionally given it to her." Lauren was speechless. Her beloved Bella had been poisoned. What kind of poison? "A substance called ethylene glycol. It's a component found in antifreeze, and because it has a sweet taste, animals sometimes lick it, but for this amount to be in her system." Dr. Harris continued carefully choosing his words. "I'm sorry, but we need to report this to the police." "Police?" Lauren was confused. But who would do such a thing to Bella? Dr. Harris went to the reception desk and picked up the phone receiver with trembling hands. "I'm calling the police right now. Mrs. Martin, I hate to say this, but you absolutely must not go home. If this was intentional poisoning, the perpetrator might still be nearby." Lauren's mind went blank. "Don't go home." Why? Who would try to poison Bella? Someone in the neighborhood. Or... At that moment, Sophie tugged gently at Lauren's sleeve. Her daughter's face was a mess of tears, but there was something other than fear in her eyes. "Mom," Sophie whispered in a small voice. "Actually, Daddy was giving Bella." "What did you say, Sophie?" Lauren put her hand on her daughter's shoulder and gently asked again. Sophie looked around and then made her voice even smaller. "Daddy was giving Bella something to drink at night. When Mom was sleeping." Lauren's heart felt like it stopped. When did this start?" "About 2 weeks ago. Daddy said, Bella is sick so I'm giving her special medicine. He said, don't tell Mom." The world felt like it was spinning. Her trusted husband was trying to poison Bella, a beloved family member. Could such a thing really happen? "Sophie, what kind of medicine was it?" "A clear liquid in a small bottle. Daddy was putting it in Bella's mouth with a spoon." Her daughter's voice was hoarse. "Bella didn't like it, but Daddy said, be a good girl and drink it." Dr. Harris finished his phone call and returned. "The police will be here soon. Please stay here until then." Lauren said in a trembling voice, "I think I might know who did it." Dr. Harris and Lauren talked in a separate room. When the veterinarian heard Sophie's testimony, his face went pale. "I can't believe it." However, considering the progression of symptoms, the possibility of continuous poison ingestion is indeed high. But why would Brian poison Bella? For what purpose? Mrs. Martin, perhaps. Dr. Harris continued reluctantly. This might have been an experiment. Experiment. An experiment to confirm the effects and proper dosage of poison. In other words, there was a different final target. Lauren's blood drained from her face. A different final target. Could it be me? The possibility can't be denied. Do you have life insurance? Lauren nodded. She was indeed insured. Brian had recommended it. She was paying high premiums because he said to think about worst-case scenarios. Just then, the police arrived. 2 detectives entered the clinic and began asking about the situation. Lauren explained the circumstances and Sophie's testimony while trembling. "We'll conduct a house search immediately," the older detective said. "Mrs. Martin and your daughter should stay somewhere safe. Do you know where your husband is?" "He should be at his company." Lauren gave them the company's address and phone number. "Understood. We'll send colleagues there." After the detectives left, Lauren hugged Sophie. Her daughter was trembling slightly. "Sophie, thank you for telling me. You were very brave." "Mom, is Daddy a bad person?" Lauren was at a loss for words. How could she explain to her 8-year-old daughter that her father was trying to kill her mother and their beloved dog? "I don't know yet. But the police will investigate the truth." From the examination room came Bella's weak whimpering. Dr. Harris came out and reported, "We've started detoxification treatment. We can't let our guard down yet, but since we found it early, there's hope." Lauren sighed with relief. Bella might be saved. However, knowing this terrible truth, her life had completely changed. The police began searching the Martin house 2 hours after Lauren and Sophie finished giving their testimony at the animal hospital. Lauren waited in the hospital waiting room with her daughter, waiting for contact. Bella was receiving detoxification treatment in the intensive care unit, and Dr. Harris was reporting on her condition every hour. "Mother, the toxins are gradually being eliminated from her system. We can't relax yet, but we can see signs of recovery." Hearing that report, Lauren cried for the first time. It was a complex emotion mixing relief, anger, and sadness. Around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Detective Johnson called. "Mrs. Martin, we've found important evidence. We're heading to the hospital now to discuss the details." 30 minutes later, Detective Johnson and young Detective Thompson arrived at the hospital. Their expressions were serious, and they held several transparent evidence bags. "First, we arrested your husband Brian Martin at his workplace," Detective Johnson quietly announced. "He initially denied the charges, but we found decisive evidence during the house search." In the evidence bag was a small bottle. It was the bottle with clear liquid that Sophie had testified about. "This bottle was found in a hidden drawer in your husband's study. The contents are ethylene glycol, antifreeze. The label says, 'For experiments.'" Lauren gasped. "For experiments." "Furthermore, we found something like research notes in the same drawer." Detective Thompson showed another evidence bag. It contained detailed records of the amount of poison given to Bella, dates, and changes in symptoms. Detective Johnson took out a copy of the notes. October 15th, half a teaspoon, loss of appetite. October 20th, 1 teaspoon, vomiting and diarrhea. November 5th, 2 teaspoons, trembling and difficulty breathing. Records like a scientific experiment continue this way. Lauren covered her mouth with her hand. Her beloved husband had been treating beloved Bella like a laboratory animal. And the most shocking thing was the last page of the notes. The detective continued with a serious expression. It said, "Dog experiment complete. To confirm effects on humans, begin administration to wife. Plan approximately 6 months until insurance payout. The world felt like it was spinning. Brian really was trying to kill her. And he had been practicing on Bella first. Regarding motive, further investigation is needed, but what we know now is. Detective Johnson paused. Your husband had a mistress. A 26-year-old woman from the same company, Ashley Davis. In Lauren's mind, Brian's recent behavior patterns rapidly connected. Frequent overtime, weekend work calls, obsession with his cell phone. It was all secret meetings with his mistress. Ashley Davis has also been arrested. We found copies of your life insurance contract and specific plans to start a new life in her apartment. Detective Thompson added, the two plan to move to California after getting the insurance money and start living with new identities. They had already prepared fake identification documents. Lauren slumped back in her chair. After 10 years of marriage, the husband she completely trusted had been planning her murder so meticulously. What's more problematic, Detective Johnson continued, is that Brian may have already started mixing small amounts of poison into your food. Have you felt any illness recently? Lauren searched her memory. Indeed, for the past few weeks, she had unexplained fatigue and mild headaches. She thought it was work stress, but I felt tired more easily lately. But I never thought it could be. Fortunately, it was still in the early stages, so there probably won't be serious effects. We recommend you get a blood test just in case. Sophie was trembling slightly while listening to the adults' conversation. Lauren hugged her daughter. Sophie, Detective Johnson spoke gently. Thanks to you telling your mother the truth, your mother's and Bella's lives were saved. You were very brave. Sophie nodded while crying. Was Daddy really a bad person? Yes. But you did the right thing. That's what's important. Just then, Dr. Harris appeared with a bright expression. Good news. Bella's condition has stabilized. The toxin elimination is progressing well, and her consciousness is becoming clearer. Really? Lauren stood up. Yes. It will take time for complete recovery, but we can say she's out of life-threatening danger. Lauren almost collapsed with relief. Bella would be saved. Their beloved family member would be saved. Detective Johnson gave the final explanation. Brian and Ashley will be charged with multiple crimes including attempted murder, animal abuse, attempted insurance fraud, and conspiracy. The evidence is clear, so conviction is certain. Brian faces at least 25 years in prison, and Ashley also faces long-term imprisonment for conspiracy. 25 years. Lauren murmured. Yes. Attempted murder is a serious crime. Moreover, it was a planned and malicious act. In the evening, Lauren and Sophie were able to visit Bella. Bella in the intensive care unit was connected to IN4, but strength had returned to her eyes. When she heard Sophie's voice, she wagged her tail, though weakly. Bella, you did so well, Sophie petted Bella's head while crying. She should be able to go home in a few more days, Dr. Harris said. However, complete recovery will take several months. Regular checkups and medication will be necessary. That night, Lauren and Sophie stayed at her sister Karen's house. Their own house was still off limits for evidence collection. In Karen's living room, Lauren explained everything to her sister. Karen listened with an expression of disbelief, but in the end was trembling with anger. I trusted that man. Pretending to love Sophie, when actually. But it's over now, Lauren said. Bella was saved, and the truth came out. I need to start a new life from now on. Sophie came into the living room and sat next to her mother. Mom, what's going to happen to us now? It'll be fine, Sophie. We have real family. You and Bella, and the people who love us, Lauren hugged her daughter. Your father made wrong choices, but we'll walk the right path. That night, Lauren couldn't sleep and stared out the window. It was difficult to accept the reality that 10 years of married life had been a lie. However, she was able to protect beloved Bella and her daughter. That was what mattered most. 1 year later, Lauren and Sophie were greeting a peaceful morning in their new home. The small house in the Chicago suburbs was modest compared to their previous luxurious mansion, but it was filled with warm sunlight. In the yard, fully recovered Bella was energetically chasing butterflies. "Mom, look at Bella. She's running faster than yesterday," Sophie called out happily from the window. Her daughter, now 9 years old, had become much more mature during this year. Having overcome the painful experience of her father's betrayal, she had now become a reliable presence supporting her mother. "You're right. Just as Dr. Harris said, she's completely healthy again," Lauren answered with a smile. Bella's recovery was miraculous. The damage from the poison was serious, but with proper treatment and loving care, she completely regained her health within a few months. Now she seemed even more active and friendly than before. The trial ended 6 months ago. Brian received a 25-year prison sentence for attempted murder, animal abuse, and attempted insurance fraud. His mistress Ashley also received 12 years for conspiracy. When Lauren last faced Brian in court, she felt complex emotions. There was no longer any trace of the man she once loved, there was only a selfish stranger controlled by his own desires. "So everything is over now," Lauren told her sister Karen after the trial. "No, this is the real beginning," Karen answered gently. "The beginning of a new life for you, Sophie, and Bella." True to those words, this year had been a series of new discoveries. Lauren continued her work as a real estate agent while also starting volunteer work with local animal welfare organizations. Through Bella's experience, she came to understand the emotional wounds of abused animals. Even after being poisoned, Bella didn't hate humans. If anything, she became more trusting of people than before, Lauren often told her volunteer colleagues. Animals' love might be much purer and deeper than humans. Sophie also made friends at her new school and regained her brightness. Sometimes she would look sad remembering her father, but she had grown to the point where she could say, "Daddy did wrong things, but we're walking the right path." "Mom, when I grow up, I want to become a veterinarian," Sophie declared one day. "I want to help animals who are suffering like Bella." "That's a wonderful dream. Let's talk to Dr. Harris about it." This morning too, Lauren was watching Bella in the yard while drinking coffee. 1 year since that terrifying morning. She felt the miracle that she and her beloved dog, who had been targeted for murder, could greet such a peaceful morning. The doorbell rang. When she opened the door, Margaret Wilson, a woman in her 70s who lived nearby, was standing there. "Good morning, Lauren. These are tomatoes from my garden. Please use them if you'd like." "Thank you, Margaret," Lauren smiled. The neighboring residents who had been wary when she first moved in now welcomed her warmly. Some people knew about Lauren's past, but no one pried, and they treated her like an ordinary neighbor. "How's Bella?" Margaret looked at the yard. "When my grandchildren visit, can they see her again?" "Of course. Bella loves children too." That afternoon, Lauren and Sophie took Bella to the nearby park for a walk. When they threw a frisbee on the grass, Bella ran around joyfully. Other families watching also smiled. "What do you think real family is?" Lauren asked Sophie. "Not whether you're related by blood, but having feelings of caring for each other," Sophie answered seriously. "Like us and Bella." "That's right. Family is bonds connected by trust and love." As the sunset painted the park golden, the 3 humans and 1 dog headed home. Bella showed no signs of fatigue and walked wagging her tail. When they got home, Lauren received a message from her sister Karen on her phone. "I'm having a barbecue party next Sunday. Come with everyone. Bella too." Aunt Karen is having a party at her house. When Lauren told Sophie, her daughter clapped her hands in joy. That night, the three of them relaxed in the living room watching TV. Bella was curled up sleeping peacefully in front of the fireplace. The memory of that terrifying morning was now only a nightmare. Lauren looked at her beloved daughter and beloved dog and thought, life might have unexpected trials waiting ahead. But with true love and trust, any difficulty can be overcome. What Bella taught her was the power of pure love. Stars were twinkling outside the window. Their new life continued toward a tomorrow filled with hope.